Ladies and gentlemen, I got Boddhi Satva in Real Radio. Boddhi, what's real?
I always use music as a platform to filter whatever emotions I have, and so that whatever comes out is abundant love, at least in the intention.
Welcome everybody to Real Radio. I'm still connecting dots worldwide. This is a big dot. This is not even, you can't even call it a dot. This is like a pin on a map. And that pin probably spans the entire city on the map. I'm just saying. Sometimes, so I've been trying to make this connection for a long time. And by a long time, I mean, I wasn't real, let's say I wasn't using all the means available to me. However, I made it happen. This guest, for those of you who have listened to the podcast, you're going to know that I'm pretty meticulous about the music that I play. And no, I'm not a DJ, but I would like to call myself a selector. Sorry, I'm brushing my shoulders off. Anyway, I came across this artist's music. I actually don't know how. Sometimes things happen. It could be the internet's. I don't think anybody referred me to it, but that's very possible. And let's just say the drums just captured my attention. The drums. If you've ever heard, and you know, there's various genres of music out there, but I don't know what this is. Some people, he calls it Ancestral Soul. Afro House? I don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, I got Boddhi Satva in Real Radio. Boddhi, what's real? Don't get me excited.
Fouca. L'ambiance. DJ Premier.
First of all, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you for inviting me, man.
I plan to take advantage of this discussion, and I want to start off by saying, so what is music part of your spiritual awakening?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, life and what happens in life as well, but music is definitely a key element to my awakening for sure. You know,
and I asked that wink because your name is Boddhi Satva. That's your artist name.
Sure. But yet I'm not a Buddhist. However, I do appreciate the Buddhist philosophy. But I would never dare to say that I am a Buddhist. However, the traits and the character of what a Bodhisattva is described to be do correlate quite a lot with my personality and how I am as a human being, and even the whole process of me even coming to life, you know, as my parents, through my conception until, you know, my birth was something peculiar. So, you know, I just decided to pay homage. And yeah, that's why.
Well, your presence gives, and I'm saying that having never met you in person, but I know people that met you. I got snipers out there. Oh, shit. And I'm looking, and you know, obviously I see what you put up on social media, and I listen to your music. The energy or the vibe that you put out there is an old vibe, but you're not that old. I'm not going to let you call yourself old, but
no, I don't call myself old.
you have like, you give out this ancestral, I guess that's why you call what you do Ancestral Soul, but you do, as an African, when I see you, I see elders. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, yes, because that's pretty much, I work heavy with my ancestry, right? So basically, I always say this: if you see me walking along, please don't be fooled. I have an army with me. You know, I have been given birth to by my mother at the Hôpital Général of Bangui, General Hospital of Bangui in Central African Republic, in very complicated conditions. I have been given the salt, you know, traditional way. I have been, you know, bathed traditionally. So, you know, this is the thing you have to understand. I'm the first grandson of all the grandchildren of my grandfather. So you understand, as an African, there's a lot of
Oh, I know.
regionalism.
Well, listen, I wasn't going to ask this now, but you're forcing me. So 1983 was a great year. One, because it's
Sure.
the year you were born. That's the year I was born. So
Right on.
You're speaking about your family and being born, and allow me humbly to draw some parallels between what I've read about your life and what I know about mine. So I was born same year as you, to a family that my father was in politics. He wasn't a politician per se, but he was working in government, right? And having lived in Africa and then having lived abroad and now finding myself as an adult living abroad, I see some parallels. But I will say there's some very specifics to your life experience. What do you want to share about that?
Well, I also come from a background where my grandfather was one of the first to bring communism to Central African Republic. He was a friend of Lumumba, of Barthélemy Boganda, of Sankara. He knew personally Abdou Diouf, the Che. I mean, not that the Che was an amazing human being, but he knew all the revolutionaries and all the guys, the key guys of the movement, and he's one of those who he brought this aspect of politics to Central African Republic, together with a few others. I grew up in the background, where I was dealing with diplomats and, being the grandson of and the son of, my father was a very successful businessman in the diamonds industry. He was one of the few Central African brothers doing their thing, as a brother of color, as a black man, as an African in this environment. He made a name for himself, and I kind of had to carry this weight, not a weight, but this heritage, I would say, because it's when you're young, it feels like a weight. It feels horrible because wherever you go, people know you, and this is the son of, and it's like, oh my God,
fils de, ton papa,
and it's like, and at the same time, I was very privileged in my upbringing because I didn't grow up in the capital city of Central African Republic. So I was born in the capital city, but I was raised and spent the rest of my life in the eastern part of the country in Bria, which is a heavy diamond productive zone. Like there's a lot of diamonds out there, and my father was leading that area. And so, having to be in that kind of environment where it's interesting because I really had the political world, I had the business world, and I got to see how these great men never abuse of their powers. My grandfather was always an opponent to the governments. He was one of the few guys that could literally talk shit at the parliament about the president without fearing nothing because they knew he was the OG, whatever. My dad was one of those very, very influential businessmen that was a peacemaker as well, feeding thousands and thousands of people. My dad was the epitome of social capitalism, if you want to put it this way. He understood that there's a necessity to make profit and to make money, and there's a lot of profit that can be made, but there's a lot of loss that can be made in the diamonds industry. But at the same time, he understood that there needed to be a social, economical impact that would benefit the people. And so he really single-handedly, my father didn't go to school long. He didn't even pass his terminal,
Listen, success, it's not necessarily based on school sometimes.
Feel me? But some people do want to make it about that. And it's like, I just got to see great men in action, and they were flawed just like any human being. But as far as the actions towards other people, like I was amazed to see the amount of love that people had for them and that they had for people genuinely. Like for example, every Fridays, we had a strong Muslim community in Central African Republic, and we always were connected. There never was any Muslim Christian there never was that thing. You know, this came as a result of two presidents that we had that really brought the Armageddon in the country. But before that, man, you know, every Friday, you know, my father would be like, all the poor people of the city, you know, he would like have rice, money, food, everything. Like if they needed like treatments, they could come anytime. He would bring the doctors from the hospital to just come and look after them, making sure that they were good. Like it was a shelter. I grew up seeing so many beautiful things that, you know, I guess we can relate on the fact that, yeah, you know, when you've been raised by great men and great women, you cannot do anything else but be grateful and try your best to, you know, follow the path.
Since we're on the topic, I definitely also want to talk about your music, but
Sure.
I sense that. Yeah, exactly. I sense that Africa plays a significant. So besides just the musical aspect of the art that you do, I feel like Africa has a prominent role in you as a person, right? And 100%. You just spoke about your lineage, and recently, Central African Republic had their elections, and I know you put out a message out there on your social media.
Yep.
It could be Songo, it could be Banda. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's in Songo. Yeah, it's in.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was close. It sounds a little bit like Lingala or Kikongo. So my mother's from Congo. So I was born in Congo. So, you know, I pretend to dabble.
All good, man.
But your message was political in nature. Do you see yourself as a Pan-African? I'm not necessarily asking you to translate, but I'm curious if you see yourself as a Pan-Africanist. And
I am. Hardcore one.
Okay. And when are you moving back? Stop playing yourself.
That's a good question. That's the question that's worth $1 million. Because the reality is that as much as I want to move back, there's a reality I have to deal with. That is unfortunately, you know, being coming from such a lineage. You know, you don't have just friends; you have a lot of enemies of that lineage. And you know, even though I'm in the music industry, it tends to piss a lot of fuckers up that I'm happening to be very successful as well. So not only my father was successful, my grandfather was successful, but the fucking son is successful. It's like,
you can't stop it.
Can't fucking stop the blessing. You know what I mean? Because we're not taking nobody's blessing to succeed. We're just following whatever was given to us, and we make it work. And this is the thing. We could go deep, but I mean, I would love to, and I am planning, and I'm trying to work on the return. But I think that it's going to have to be. Probably not in my birth country, Central African Republic, not right now at least, because there are indeed some forces at play that do see me as a threat one way or the other. And even though I'm not a threat, because I don't see myself entering politics in any way, shape, or form, at least that's not where my head is at. And secondly, as a musician and as an artist and somebody who's a key player in my industry, I could actually be contributing to the well-being of the country and the people. But you know, it's just a bloodline thing. It's like, nah, we don't want your bloodline in this shit. Fuck off. So, you know, some people do, some people don't, and I just have no time to try to find out who does it, who don't. I'm staying far away from my country for the moment, you know.
What are the expressions and my guys have who are from in the diaspora, you know, or Africans? It's les jaloux vont maigrir. So
les jaloux vont maigrir. Oui.
So, eventually they'll find the place where they belong. You mentioned your art, and I want to talk about that. Dancing plays a prominent role in African music in general, but it plays a prominent role in, I want to say, the product you put out there. You put a lot of dancing on your social media page, people dancing to music. Your music is conducive to dancing.
Sure.
For the folks that have seen you do a DJ session, I mean, if they don't bring the towels out, I mean, if they book you, let me just put it out there. Anybody that's going to book you needs to make sure you have what it takes in case you start sweating, so that you can at least keep yourself presentable at all times. They should at least plan a second outfit for you. It shouldn't be your responsibility. So I'm just saying, like,
right.
put it like
You're
this.
very right.
These are things they should know. I mean, somebody should be there to keep you hydrated. Sir, do you need water? You are dancing profusely, just like the folks on the dance floor. Why dancing is so important to you?
Brother, first of all, dancing is the essence of what music is about. I mean, especially if we talk about.
Hold on, you say that. Sorry to interrupt you. You say that, but I've seen some DJs who are like this behind the turntables. You know, they're moving. Some are not, but you know they're. But no, you are. You know, you're in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a question. There's always a moment, not always, but sometimes, because not all my DJ sets, I'll reach that climax spiritually, where it's like there's something where I just lose it, in a good way, right? Where it's like you just let the spirit take over, as we say, Hallelujah!
Yeah.
Let's go! The Holy Spirit, yes! How come on? Nothing like that, though. Nothing like that. But
I understand.
But you understand what I mean. It's like there's an energy that comes and takes over, and you just connect with the crowd in a completely different way. So the thing is this: it's not like some people do that as a gimmick, and I'll notice it very quickly. But some people do genuinely move behind the decks because the music they play, they genuinely enjoy playing it, and they want to share and make people feel what they feel. So you can't always do that if you're standing still. However, one of my really, really good friends and one of my big inspiration, Manu, who is one of the most amazing producers and DJ I know, doesn't move much behind the decks. But it only does this. But the way he bumps his head, the way he moves that upper part of his body, man, I'm telling you, it's enough. Just when you see him, and then he does this little smile when he plays, oh, you're like, oh man, that's it, you took me away. So this is the thing, this is the power of this Afro house sound, and it's this power of this sound, this ancestral soul is about that, allowing yourself to be taken over, and actually any music, but allowing yourself to be taken over, elevated by the sounds at that specific moment. And it doesn't matter if you know how to dance, if you don't know how to dance, whatever. As long as you're moving and it is moving, and even if you're standing still or you're sitting, sometimes you can be sitting and sipping on your drink, and it takes you to some places where you're just like, oh my man, and you start crying. How many times have I not seen people cry? Me, myself, I did my festival this weekend with on the weekend of the 23rd and the 24th of January with Giorgio Flores and Chupchu. We have this online festival we just started called Offering God Soul Weekend there. And I did the closing set. Brother, I was literally in tears. But people may not have seen because I was feeling the music and I was feeling so humbled by that experience. So for me, music is truly a reflection of how I feel. If I'm playing and I'm going to a heartbreak, you will feel it, you will know it, but it will not be negative. I always use music as a platform to filter whatever emotions I have, and so that whatever comes out is abundant love, at least in the intention.
Is that a lost art, the dancing?
It is, man. I mean, no, it's not a lost art. It's a lost art in certain industries and in certain parts of the industry. Yes.
Okay.
I mean,
okay.
I think in my industry, in general, we're seeing a profusion of dancers. We're seeing a profusion of people who, just as you said earlier, for example, use my music as a mean to express themselves in movement. So for me, like, yeah, it's not a lost art at all. But unfortunately, with this whole pandemic hitting us the way it did, and it is, spaces where people will be able to express themselves until it gets sorted, and we don't know when that will be. Yeah, yes, it's for now it's a bit of a complicated art to keep alive, but dance from your home.
We're gonna come back to that, but I want to ask, how was that decision to become a professional DJ or professional producer? Because that's not necessarily what you. I mean, I don't know if it's what you planned, but it's not necessarily what you've been doing. Your whole adult life.
So basically, being from the lineage that I'm from, obviously my father and the family, they had different plans for me, right? Initially, I wanted to be.
You have to be a doctor, an engineer, a lawyer. What else?
He wanted me to be a lawyer.
Okay.
He wanted me to be a lawyer because he felt like I had a good sense of justice and so on, and I always hated injustice. But I understood sometimes that politics and the art of being a politician requires sometimes to do choices that you may not like. This is why it's usually said that when you enter this world, you have to be prepared to sometimes make alliances with the devil himself. So it requires a good sense of balance and harmony to be able to do that and not lose yourself in it, because greed eventually comes into play. But with that parenthesis being closed right now, and answering back to your question, I wanted to be a professional basketball player. My dream was to be going to UCLA in Los Angeles and practice my basketball. That was my ultimate dream.
Okay.
Because I was actually really good, but a friend of my father came home, and he was a good friend of Patrick Ewing at the time, and he was recruiting a lot of basketball players around the continent, and so he came by the house. I mean, in Bria, in the eastern part, and I love Tonton Eugene. He's I mean, I wasn't gonna love him, but he discouraged me a lot because he came and I wanted him to. And my father was like, my father believed in me, though. Don't get me wrong. My father really believed in me, but he never really pushed it as far as motivating me to eventually really take this seriously enough. But he really motivated. He was there. He built like a basketball court for me in the property. Like I had my little basketball court, whatever. And so I was really fortunate. But so Uncle Eugene came to the crib, and he's like, yeah, okay, yeah, all right.
You don't have what it takes.
You don't have what it takes. But that's because I was a chubby kid at the time, and but I was so impressed. I don't even think I had a chance to actually show him how I played. We did like a little one-on-one with my boys, and we did like a little matchup, and anyway, it just didn't work out. And I found out later on that for him I was just not good enough, and that really broke my dreams. But I still kept on fighting because I didn't need to just prove him wrong. And the truth is that I actually kind of did. I never got to the UCLA, but when I moved from Central African Republic to Belgium to continue my terminale at the French Lycée Français de Bruxelles, bro, my level was very high because I was training with seniors. I was a junior, but I was training with seniors already, and guys like we're talking about Lavo-Drama, the Gigi Lavo-Drama, big players for my country. We were like training, and I was the fast and agile, chubby guy. But it was this, how do you call this, teenage hood and all that. So it's normal. Your body has to take its form. But when I got to Belgium, bro, I was threatening people, bro. And I was playing against like big guys because we were playing real street ball, like
physical.
We knew what it was to just get a hair ball and to get your shit open and don't cry about it and continue playing. Oh man, it was crazy. So I had a very physical game, very, very aggressive, and but I scared people off, and eventually I busted my kneecap, which led me to then completely abort mission and yeah. So long story short, music came to me as a because after that. When I stopped school because I was depressed, I was not on the same level as the other kids, having been homeschooled pretty much all my life. I had developed a completely different type of intelligence. And academic was not necessarily my thing, but I loved reading what I liked. I loved Egyptology. I loved, African history. I loved anything that touched on the continent and that touched on mystical and you know what I mean, like geopolitics, but shit that I liked. So eventually, my father was like, "Okay, cool. You're gonna get into the diamond business. You're gonna become a diamond cutter, and this way we're gonna do a family business." I was like, "Oh, cool." And also, I was really gifted at that, but unfortunately, things didn't really pan out the way it should have, and I got I had to stop, and that's when. In the meantime, music was always there because you have to bear in mind throughout all these things, music was always there because I was already running my hip hop crew back in the days with my boys. So music was always part of this thing. It's just that I was scared to really embrace it because my pops was like, "My man,
that's what I wanted to know."
These things are cool, but ultimately you're going to go to.
There's no money there.
Because for him, UCLA, it was nice, but he wanted me to go to MIT. He was like, "No, you will go to MIT. I don't care about your basketball team."
He knows.
Oh man, little did he knew that his son was just going to be like him, stubborn man,
stubborn,
and stubborn. And was like, "I'm going to do my thing," and also me doing the music was also to completely carve my way out of him because I was tired of being the son of. I was tired of being underneath and also looked at as the spoiled child, which I never really was. I mean, I was spoiled with love, and obviously my parents always made sure that we had everything we needed, but my father was a very strict man. You had to deserve what you were getting. It was merit. It was all about merit. So it gives you a set of values, and when music really became something that I was confident enough to embrace and say, "Look, I'm just going to do this," bro. I had no idea I was going to be where I am, but I had a dream. And
what was that dream?
I just wanted to be the bridge between African music, electronic music, underground electronic music, and the mainstream. And I wanted to build that triad and be the guy, the connector of all these vibes. And that's how Ancestral Soul came about. And initially, man, even when people started to play my music, I was so confused because I always found my music to be so left field in a way, very dark, very obscure in in some ways. Especially if you listen to my first productions, great joints, but completely not structured for the mass. And yet, funny enough, shit blew up in Angola, left and right, and I started getting bookings, this and that. And it's like, and rest is history. But yeah, man, it's just crazy how things pan out to be sometimes.
How did that? So, how did that conversation with your father go when you told him you wanted to be a DJ? God rest his soul, but I'm curious. I'm curious. You could give us.
I did not have that conversation with him. I can
never said anything.
I was just. My man, I never had the conversation with him. My older brother,
I know,
is the one that went to speak to him.
Like, Papa, écoute, bon.
My older brother was like, look, the boy wants to do music. Let him do it. Support him. My father looked at him and said, "What do you mean?" He said, No. Your son wants to do music. That's what his calling is for. He's good at it. One of my brother's friends brought this software called Acid. It was owned by Sony at the time, and so the software came. It was Acid 4, and so it was a DAW that allowed you to make music, right? So it brought me like a bunch of CDs with samples, and I started to create stuff, And so I wanted to prove my father. So the way I came to my father, first of all, I was doing like, productions. My own little production obviously was nothing crazy, but I was building, loops on top of each other, and I would play. And there was some stuff. He was like, "Oh, you did that?" I was like, "Yeah." Well, I didn't do the music, but I used and I played with the samples. And they was like, "Okay," and then that's how I started to place things. And then eventually, so when my brother came to my father, together with actually a friend of the family, Magda, shout out to Magda and my brother Laurent, and my sister-in-law at the time, the three of them sat down with my parents and they're like, "Look, man, this boy is talented. Music is his calling. Let him do his thing." And if it doesn't work, then he can do what you guys want him to do. But let him do his thing. And so my father was like, okay. So my father was like, said, hey, you,
Don't mess up.
you better not mess up. The money we spent on you, the money that everything that we invested in you, this is the only thing I'm going to do for you. I will help you a little bit for this project, but you are on your own after I'm done helping you match your investment for the project that you're going to get involved in. So I went to the studio in Brussels. They charged me quite a lot of money, but then reduced a little bit the price. I don't know if we paid I think we paid about 6,000 euros. My father fronted the money, and so at that time I had the chance to meet one of my heroes, Alton Miller. So you have to understand, before we even get there, the power of the subconscious mind is something that I learned at the age of 16, 17 years old. I read 2 books. I read the book of Dr. Edgar Murphy called The Infinite Power of the Subconscious Mind, I believe. And the second, but most probably prominent book in my life, one of the most complicated books to read, as a matter of fact, in French, is a book by Shogyan Trungpa Rinpoche called The Crazy Wisdom. My man, I was 16 years old when I read that book. My man, it changed my entire perspective and perception of things in life. And so I became intentional without even knowing that I was becoming intentional. So everything that I did until now is intentional, but it's so ingrained in my system that I don't even, it's just natural to me, even though I got to check myself back into it sometimes. So eventually I met Alton Miller. Alton Miller, some of my legends. I was listening to.
Oh, that's a legend. So Alton Miller is who the pop DJs or producers listen to. That's you know how they say that's the rapper's rapper? That's the DJ's DJ or the producer's producer.
And you know what? I'm actually going to echo what you're saying so nobody can say you're bullshitting anybody. I've seen DJ Tiesto with my own eyes in Amsterdam showing Alton Miller respect, as in like respect. And I looked at that, I was like, yo, Big A. He's like, I didn't know the guy knew me.
No, or they know. They know.
And so, Alton and I, we became roommates for 3 years. So I had direct connection with knowledge that is unprecedented. So, he literally schooled me, like he groomed me and taught me everything that I had to know in order for me to really embark on this journey. And so, through that experience, going to that guy, Christoph studio, we did like this whole project. I went to Miami in 2006, 2005, I think. I can't remember. Anyway. And yeah, went and sat down. I was shy. I was shaking. I met this. So I was always blessed to be co-signed by big legends already from the get-go. But that's because I was a passionate and very respectful kid. I never came angry as in like, yeah, I want to grab everything. I would wait for you to. I would make myself sing, but I would wait for you to tell me where you wanted me to be. So that I don't, la tradition africaine, le respect de l'aîné.
Oui, le respect de l'aîné, exactement. I know exactly what you mean.
So when you're behaving like that, people are, it's like, oh, kids your age are already acting a fool, bro. You are very wise for your age. No, son, come. DJ Pipi, one of the biggest legends of Ibiza. DJ Pipi. I met him. He takes me under his wing. He said, look, he meets my father. He said, look, your son is a passionate kid. I haven't heard his stuff yet, but I can tell he is talented. That's a guy that has not heard my music. Well, he heard like the little promo that I did, but he's like, that's not your sound. Can you imagine at the time the guy says, this is someone else's influence on you, but this is not you. And another guy who's pivotal in that is Robert Walker, C. Robert Walker. Big shout out to Big Rob. Yo, Robert Walker is also a massive legend. To a point where actually Eddie Murphy spoke about him in one of his jokes.
Really?
But that's for another story. That's for another time. I gotta give a shout out to my.
We're gonna have to do part 2 of this. Oh my God.
No doubts. Watch. So
Okay.
Rob, I met him through Christoph at that studio, and so he comes, and Rob is this amazing vocalist. I mean, anybody wants to check my music with C. Robert Walker, you're free to do so. Amazing songs we've done together, and so He's like, yo, son, you got something in you. You got something in you. This is not what you're doing is not what. So I had like two massive legends, underrated, especially Robert, underrated. But this man, oh man, let me not even start with the life of Robert because he has so many lives in one life. It's crazy. And so PP like takes me under his wings. Like, okay, come to Miami for the Miami conference, winter music conference at the time. So get there. Bro. Anyway, after that, it was a bit of a flop. My father said, okay, I told you, this was the first and last time I was helping you. So my son, from now on, you have to find your way. Whatever you need to do, you will have to do. I am no longer paying for anything in your life. I was already doing my own stuff, but he was still supporting, And so, Manlib, allez, Ichito. Bro. And I was ready. So I went, I started, doing some construction work, security. I started. The construction thing was not so long, but it was impressive enough for me to remember it. Security, I did that for a long time because I was really a big dude and very massive physically, and so I could use that and to my advantage and get some job doing doors at clubs, etc., and also bartending. Stuff like that I hated. Oh my God. Oh shit. But then I was like, then I stopped all that. I was like, I'd rather be broke and only eat rice, but I'm going to focus on my craft. Fuck all that shit. And I did that after the bartending. I was like, I'm done. So I went home. I stopped everything. I switched on the computer and I worked on my craft every day without a stop. My mother helped me out a little bit, whatever she could, she would spot me with. But I was there. I was support. And really, I got to give a shout out to my parents because even though my father was extremely African, he was not showing how proud he was of me. No, at all.
But behind your back, and when they talk to other people, my son. Oh, you did? Oh, you don't know? My dad does the same thing. Trust me.
Crazy. So it's like, and so yeah. Long story short, music was definitely not something that they had initially seen me doing. But the moment everybody was starting to say, "Look, this kid has a gift," and established names, and at the time, you have to bear in mind, I haven't even had a body of work that I have now, and I have a massive catalog now. But at the time, I'm just beginning, bro. I didn't even release my first solo project, and I was still working on my project together with Alton because Alton Miller accepted to co-sign me and put my name next to his name so that we can have our first release together. So my first song in the industry was a big name of that industry, of the underground house, deep house music, but still a big name for me. That's a legend. I mean, we're talking about, and people need to know this. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. It's like you working with Easy Mo B, like, feel me? And talk about Easy Mo B. I remember one of the albums that marked my life is that album that he did with Miles Davis, which is the last album that Miles Davis did, that my father was a fan of. And in 2010, I'm on the phone with Easy Mo B, and I have the legend, the big dog, telling me, "Yo, son, I love your music. I really like what you're doing. I dig. You're good, man. You're talented." I'm like, and I want to shout, and I want to be like, "Fuck!" I'm talking to the guy who did party and bullshit, and I'm here talking to the legend, yo. This guy worked with everybody, yo. Like, what? Yeah. So, yeah, man, beautiful, man. As I said, it's a calling, and it's really a gift from the Creator, and when you honor it, it comes with challenges, but it's a beautiful thing.
So transition to now, where my sense, and I'm speaking strictly as a consumer, because I went through your catalog from beginning to end, and what it appears to me, or the impression that I get from listening to your music now is, the artists or the vocalists that come on the records you produce, like you're in your lane.
Yeah.
Like there's a Boddhi Satva lane right now, and people come into your world is the impression that I have. Like you've been able to create it, and now people come into your world, and that meeting of the art creates whatever you put out. Where are you going? What's next? Like, what are you working on? I need to know.
Well, I mean, so I'm not working on anything, crazy besides, just keeping on creating content. What I have indeed been forced to do, which is a blessing as well, even though we're going through some tough times within this industry, is the fact that because we don't have shows anymore, and my economy was show based. Also, I have to be honest. I had very little financial literacy, because we're not being taught that, in our families. I mean, my father was very successful financially, my mother as well, both of them. But, they try to teach us, but they were so busy working this and that and grinding that, well, yeah, it kind of like, passed over the head a little bit. And so me, I had to find out. The thing is that one of the things that I had to switch around, but it happened before COVID, but it really got implemented and sealed when COVID happened. Is just completely switching my economical paradigm and looking at different avenues of generating revenue. So streaming is the key, of course. It's been the key anyway. Streaming, songs. So I had to produce, and I'm producing much more content as far as music is concerned. So anybody who's been following my work since the beginning, you'll see, when you make that kind of money, tour money, gigs, like it's good, and it's the kind of money that allows you to not really be stressed about the studio. But at the same time, there comes a point where, you know what, enough is enough, and you can't be acting like, one is more important than the other, because they both are. So, I just had to shift my focus and really, really, work on my literacy as far as the business is concerned. Even more so, not that I didn't understand the business, but because you're in an economy of constantly making money. So you, for example, from one month to another, maybe 1 month you make 10K, the next you make 5, the next you make 20, the next you make 2. It depends, because this is the thing. So. And it's very important for me to speak transparently about that, because there's a lot of imaginations. Like, I have been blessed, however, by my parents who have a sense of, even though I didn't have financial literacy as far as knowing how to save money, this and that and the other, I knew how to make things happen with what I had. And I'm not wasting things. I can wear the same clothes for a long time. I have shirts that I was wearing back in 2005. I still have my christening shirt. I mean, non, c'est pas comment tu appelles ça, le catéchisme, le truc là.
Confirmation?
La confirmation. Ma chemise de confirmation, j'ai encore ça.
Applaud yourself.
You feel me? So I'm that kind of guy. Like, I'm not about like hoarding or anything like that, but I know how to, because this is something that I was taught by my boys in the hood who didn't have anything. They would have their sneakers. Their sneakers would last for years because they would take care of it. So I learned this crap.
And you got to clean it.
You understand? You got to make sure you keep what you have and hold on it. So when shit hit the fan, I was mentally prepared. And all my life has been a struggle anyway, because I didn't have my dad, or my dad, as a matter of fact, and this is a part that we haven't spoken about. My dad and my mom lost everything. So I became the only provider at some point. I became the main provider for the house. Interestingly enough, with the little money that I was making with my music. So I've always been looking out for the family, which was the way I was raised anyway. But then, I never really had the time to focus on building my own, financial empire. But I built, one thing that my father said was like, human currency, l'homme est le plus important que l'argent. Humans are more important than money, because it is your network that will bring you the money, not the money that brings you the network. At a certain point, yes, but initially, c'est le rapport à l'être humain qui est important.
Your network is your net worth.
You feel me, brother. You feel me. And, I know that this still resonates with you, because it seems like, even though I don't know you, don't know me, but we seem to be coming, most of us, we come from sort of like similar sort of like educations with some nuances, but we have some sort of like principles that are very identical. So bearing that in mind, what I'm working on is more music. Is obviously I had to develop shows. I had to develop my online presence even more so. So I had started with the Quarantine Groove during the first confinement last year, which was a success. I mean, it made my numbers on Instagram grow, and my YouTube. I did 50 shows for 50 days. So one show per day, sometimes even more per day. But that moved to YouTube, which is a monetized platform, because at the end of the day, I cannot continue doing this for free. And then, it grew it grew into becoming something that I'm actually doing as my job. Like I have my every Friday shows, Quarantine Grooves. I'm actually reaching close to the 100 shows very soon. I've developed a talk show as well called Monday Quality Talks on Mondays. And recently, since we've been reconfined, I reactivated a thing that I call Confinement Talks, which is give me 1 second. Let me just open the door.
Yep.
Donc, I've developed this talk called Confinement Talks, and that's an environment that I put together where I invite colleagues from various different friends and colleagues from the music industry, but also beyond. That's what it is. And I think that, as the producer that I am, of course, thankfully I have my music catalog, my label, and my capacity as a composer to do what I do, but it's not sufficient. So, I'm becoming pretty much a YouTuber, and this is what it is. And it's actually funny and freaking amazing to see that we are not tapping into so much. There's so much potential to be tapped into, and a lot of people don't do it out of maybe contempt or maybe fear or maybe lack of knowledge or whatever. But I'm just like, yo, money is money. Un euro, là, un euro.
Ah, mon gars, tu ajoutes, ça fait beaucoup à la fin.
That's what I say. Everybody wants big, but man, it takes small for you to get to that point. And its status as well, man. People like, especially, I know a lot of guys even that don't even have half of my accolades and not even a quarter of the shit that I've done in my 20 years career. Because this is the year of my 20th anniversary career.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much, sir. And I see them, you got to see them blowing up their neck and acting like their shit don't stink. But look, man, I come from a dedication that's so strict, that's so value-oriented, and that's like so, humble, so, yeah. We know where we come from.
I know. And it sounds like you're grounded. And I think it's an incredible asset to have, especially when you go through periods of change, like whatever we're going through now. I promised I was going to let you go on time, but before I let you go, I got to ask a few things. You mentioned earlier, because when we were talking about dancing, about giving people the venues to do so, and I know you posted, and I think you actively participated in some kind of movement to reopen nightclubs. Do you want to speak on that?
Yeah, it's called the Movimento Pão e Água, the bread and water movement, which is a movement that is pushing for the government to ease up a little bit on how they double down on us and messed up our industry by, impeaching people to obviously connect socially, right? Social distancing. But the thing is that there's so many incoherence when it comes to how they implement these things when it comes to other businesses. So if you go to, for example, public transportations, people are piled up on top of one another, but then it's okay because it's a public transport. But no, you're stuck in a bus for maybe 30 minutes or an hour, piled up on. How is that okay? But if you're in a restaurant, you cannot be. So they eased it up for restaurants, for some restaurants, but a lot of people lost their businesses, and a lot of people killed themselves. A lot of people, colleagues, guys that I know, legends in the game, or people that I don't necessarily know, but that my folks, my agent or my management team knows of. They're like, yo, man, this guy, this legend XYZ is sleeping in his car, or she has to now open an OnlyFans account because it's not working. And, she got the look, so she's like, I might as well fucking do it. And I'm like, people just got to fall back to. So, dude, y'all, So y'all have no problem coming to the clubs, trying to get pum pum or the dingus whenever it's possible, whenever it's available, right? But when it comes to making sure that you understand that we are responsible, this is our business. It's not in our interest to fuck things up for ourselves.
Right.
So y'all politicians come to the clubs, enjoy all the fun.
And we know.
And we know they do. And we know who they are too. And I'm still surprised nobody decided to bring out some files, because that would definitely put some fire up some of those folks' asses a little bit. But it's not necessary, because at the end of the day, the truth of the matter is that we understand. And actually, the reason of this movement is like, we understand why you guys are doing what you're doing, but you guys are killing us because you're not giving us solutions. And so they're like, yeah, but this industry is making so much money. You don't need support.
Some people are making so much money. Let's be clear.
Let's be clear.
The folks who are working are not making so much money.
My brother, look, my man, look. And it's not because of financial literacy, this and that. Look, if I start to open my mouth about this shit, because that's another thing. In my industry, some people don't like me because moi, je suis très transparent sur ça. I don't play around. I'll tell you how it is. If there is, there is. If there's not, on se regarde et puis on se cherche aussi.
Voilà, il n'y a pas de souci.
C'est qui est sûr. Chacun voit midi à sa porte.
Exactement.
Donc, il ne faut pas venir me mélanger et me dire que non, today this, no, my man, look, hey. La poudre aux yeux là, the flaunting in the powder. Look, my man, I see through that shit. Because as you see me, we all know how to carry ourselves. We all know how to act like everything is cool when everything is not. This is part of our DNA. We've been raised to actually maintain appearances.
At all times.
At all times. Stay clean, stay sharp. Even though you're struggling, you must always stay digne.
Yep.
Voila. That's the way to be. But there's a difference between being, humble and being in sovereign in your truth and in your light, and being flaunting and doing whatever it is that you're doing that end up making you a prisoner of the lifestyle you're creating. Because now people expect you to deliver all the time. Donc, frère. Donc, bon, la situation de ce mouvement est que this movement is meant to really try to shake and move things, but it's not working, because we clearly see that none of these governments care about artistry, because they don't see what and how it is impacting people's life in a good way, and because there's a lot of idiots out there, even in the people in the communities of citoyens. That believe that music is nothing or art is nothing. But if it's not because of us DJs and us troubadours and other clowns, how are you guys going to entertain yourself? If it's not because of those girls going to Dubai flashing their booty and stuff, how are you going to continue liking photos? These people have to have their money. So with all due respect, like, we all need to get back to work, one way or the other. Now, thank God, I'm for the vaccine. I swear to God, as people call me what you want to call me, my man. Me, I need to pay my bills. Nobody's paying my bills for me. I'm going to take the vaccine. I need to get back to work. Because what I'm building is a long-term process. But bills don't wait long-term. Bills are waiting for now.
Fonctionnaire Boddhi.
Frère, mon cher, écoute, il faut s'adapter, c'est l'intelligence adaptative.
I'm with you, man. You're saying it 100% on point, man.
We're going to give you a 5G, this and that. Bro, give me the 5G. My phone is already tracking me. My computer is tracking me. Everything is tracking me. I beg, Baba, leave me alone. Let me go work.
You said it. Do you prefer DJing or producing? If you had to choose and you could make the same amount of money in each, which one is your...
Oh, fuck. That's not cool.
I gotta ask.
Why you gotta do me like that, bro?
I gotta ask.
Why you gotta do me like that, bro? That's a sneaky move, man.
It's a real move, because and I'll tell you, so I've never seen you a DJ set for you, but for example, Black Charles is my man, and Black Charles does that last Sunday in Abidjan. That's my man. We went to school together. That's my right hand man. Nice. And I asked him, I was like, yo, how was that Boddhi set? He was like, yo, mais tu blagues, Boddhi. J'ai dit, bon, capte-toi. Okay, all right, cool, whatever. You did a set in, it's in Paris. Two of my cousins who were in Paris, who were with the, they knew the guy the booking agent for that. So anyway, so they were like, yo,
is it the one at?
I don't remember where, but I don't know the place because I'm not well versed
It's
with
got to
Paris.
be.
But
If
I'm
it's
sure
not the
you know.
June, if it's not the June, it's the other.
It was
venue.
June.
Oh, it's
It
June.
was June.
Okay.
So they told me, like, yo, Boddhi on live, c'est ça. All right, cool. So the passion is clearly there in your like, you know, there's some people who DJ and not that they don't like it, but sometimes they DJ as a means to be a producer, or vice versa, or they produce because they really want to DJ. What's I mean, I can't tell. I really can't tell.
The thing is that, and that's going to sound cocky, but hey, bear with me. 20 years in the game, I can be a little bit. I can't give myself my little flowers.
Oh yeah, toot your horn.
I got to toot my own horn, right, a little bit. But I'm really good at both, you know. And I see myself as a producer and a DJ, and the DJing for me is essential because it allows me to connect with the dancers, the listeners, in a very much immersed way and direct way. Also, temporally talking, there is a connection that is created that will last a taste of time, because the memory that I'm providing to you during that night or during that day, or as you dance onto my music or to my performance, is something that you will remember for the rest of your life. Hopefully. Same goes with my production. If I do a song, if I create a song with somebody, with a singer, whatever, if I create a song that touches your soul in a way that helps you lift your spirit up when you were in the pit, and that song was like your go-to, joint to give yourself a boost of energy, I create a lasting memory. I'm part of your life. You making me, in other words, immortal. So the thing is that it's very complicated to choose between one or the other because they are so connected for me, right? However, if I had to pick between both, I would take productions. I would take studio.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love DJing. It's my thing. I enjoy that. But I'm I'm also a fucking producer. Like, they're lucky. If they sit me down with Drake and these guys, they don't know. No, at some point, people don't know. Because c'est-à-dire, on dit chez nous, donc, it means you will see what Pimento saw in order to be read. Look, there's some people, there's a reason why they're blocking you, they're not letting you get because they know once you get there, you'll take their bread, which is a silly mentality because you're not going to take nobody's bread because the market is so open. Mm-hmm. But some people are so scared. They want to protect a little piece of land. This is mine, my precious. Baba, if you win, I win. Oh, hey.
Two more questions. Then I'll let you go. You were taken under. You came up under other folks' wings, right? We spoke about Alton Miller. I think Louis Vega is also somebody.
Louis Vega was a very pivotal. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Who's under your wing right now?
Oh man. You want to talk about the recent ones? You want to talk about all the guys that I birthed?
You answer it how it makes sense to you. Who are you carrying? Or I don't even, carrying is presumptuous. Like, it's like, hey, I'm going to help. Who are you paying this forward to? I think that's the better way to ask the question.
I'm supporting a lot of guys, man. Even guys that I don't necessarily work with, but they hit me up with some requests for this and that to help them out. If I feel I work with spirit and vibe, man. If your spirit is good and your vibe is on point, I'll spare you 30 minutes or an hour of my time and even guide you to what you need to do. Because, bro, at this point, I got so much knowledge. I got so much, keys to so many doors that I'm more than happy. And I've always done it. And I've done it with and to people who have slapped me back in the face and would come back after slapping me back and say, oh, and act like everything is okay. And you're like, don't act like you don't know what you did. But it's okay. I am forgiving, but I will never forget. So I have indeed inspired an entire generation of producers. And to say that I took some people under my wing, I don't like that in a way, because even though it's true, it's a bit presumptuous, as you mentioned. So I would not be willing to answer to that question. But those who know, and those I have looked out for know what I've done for them. And that goes for up and coming names to very established names that a lot of you guys listen to super, super, super big names that you guys know that are helped in so many ways. And it's okay. Not everybody has to know what happens in. Comme on dit, nous sommes. What you say, I'm as much in the light, but I'm also very well in the background, and I do a lot of things in the background. I'm supporting people. I put my hands, helping people out, pushing them, but I don't put my hands to block people. I have no time for that. What you do wrong to me, something is going to happen that's going to make you realize what you did. I have nothing to do with wasting my energy on trying to think how I'm going to block you. I want to help you. Even if you've done something wrong, let me just give you love, because I understand that my time is counted here. So, moi, je vais chercher ma prendre mes points. Il y a quel problème? Hein?
Ball. I've seen a lot of your stories back when you were moving around, because you move around quite a lot. Though people might get fooled. If anybody that's listening to this show just gets turned on to you, they're gonna be like, "Oh, this guy does quarantine groups. Oh, this guy does, what is it? Quarantine talks." Okay, no. I mean, but before that, this guy was like, pew pew pew, playing here, playing there, playing there. Okay, no, the standard thing with the way you move, and I feel like it's particular to travel gear has a camo jacket, man. You in combat? Who are you going to fight? What's up with the camo look?
Yeah, you know what, bro? You're asking an amazing question, because nobody has ever asked me that question, and that means that you're somebody who's paying attention. Me, I'm in combat mode all the time. I'm as thirsty and starving as a kid that just came in the game. That's my mentality. If I show you my studio now, you laugh. It's just my MIDI controller, my keyboard, my laptop, my computer, c'est tout, and my headphones, and my hard drives. Don't come with me with sound card this, sound card that. My man, I have no time for these things. One time I will. First of all, because I never really had the money to invest in it, because my money would be allocated to helping family or to doing other things important. And I was able to function with what I had. I've always learned to work with what I had. So that mentality, again, that's that hood mentality. Because just because we come from certain families doesn't mean that we're not hood. But man, don't be mixing yourself, because me, I was raised in the hood. Because again, you have to understand, we are kids that rejected, at least for me, I rejected my lineage for a long time. So for me, I was ashamed of being the son of. So whatever I would get, I would give to my friends that I didn't have. And every time I could, I would not be at home. I would be out in dans le village. I would be playing basketball, drinking water from the sewer, du puits là. Comment tu appelles ça? No. Going back home with some serious pains in the stomach, and then afterwards having a stomach that's completely shielded of any problem, so I could drink any water, I would be fine. Look, so for me, I've always been, in a way, very, very connected with the roots where I come from. So, and it also come from maybe a trauma going through war in Central African Republic in 1997, where I was very marked by what I saw. Didn't leave me fucked up, thank God. But I know a couple of my friends that ended up being very, very fucked up. But we saw some really terrible shit, like people being shot, burned, whatever. It was a bit hectic. But I think that is the stigma of the past. But I've always loved camo. I always loved the military. As a matter of fact, I wanted to be a special force.
Hey.
But I was never good at taking orders. So in that sense. But interestingly enough, I have a lot of friends in the special force and in the army and stuff like that that I met through music. Like guys who are like, oh man. So I have veterans from the war in Afghanistan, this and that as friends. And it's so funny because it's funny. When you consider that shit, this was my dream, but yet I'm surrounded by a lot of guys who have taken part in these combats and real people that were actually on the terrain and from different army and some of my best friends are in the military as well. And it's very funny to me because I'm like, damn, well, somehow my energy attracted these people, and yeah, we're friends. And for me, the camo is just my c'est ma tenue de combat. I call myself the urban commando. You know, I'm always ready. You know, I'm always like, okay, cool, that's happening. As long as I identify that the mission that I'm being given is something that I'm not going to be killing myself on, you know, if I identify that there's a factor of feasibility, and I speak now like a military,
yeah, it's God.
If there's a factor of feasibility, I will indeed consider the opportunity and value the assets. But no, with that being said, now, I mean, I just love camo. I just love how it makes me feel. As I said, it brings me back to my youth. It brings me back to, you know, these memories. But at the same time, it keeps me sharp, because there's a thing about army that I always admire is the rigor, you know, and the sense of honor. You know, not everything is amazing about the army. Obviously, that's one of the reasons why I didn't enter in it. But when I see the friends that I have, and I see the honorable men that they are and women that they are, I'm like, yo, man, you know, respect. You know, I can only but, you know, rock this as a guy in my own way. Obviously, I'm not for killing people. I'm not for going at war. But, you know, you got to do what you got to do, and life is already complicated enough. So, you know, you got to be ready, man. So for me, the camo is that is an attire of readiness, and it's an attire of preparedness at all times.
Well, Boddhi, you are an honorable man, or at least you're an honorable man in the making. I'm not going to judge you, but I'm going to give you respect 100%. And when our paths cross, I look forward to that day. So Absolutely. Lord willing, hopefully I'll see you in the motherland. If not, I'll catch you in one of these European lands.
Bro. And you asked me about me returning back to the motherland. Believe me, this is something that I've contemplated a lot on, and you know, I've definitely been thinking a lot about, you know, Abidjan, Dakar, you know, some of the cities, to see how maybe I could possibly identify where I could establish some aspects of my operations. But it's going to happen, you know, and hopefully by then, if Central African Republic gets stable and we don't have to deal anymore with the type of leaders that are trying to mess up the balance of the country, then you'll see me probably there. But until then, probably Portugal, if you come through for.
Hey, yo, don't tempt me. I'm trying to get out of this place. Don't tempt me.
Here you go. Welcome.
Listen. Enough respect. Lieutenant Colonel. Remember, you're too young to be a general. You're going to be a general eventually.
Oh, Inch'Allah. Mais Lieutenant Colonel, ça me va. Au fait, moi-même, hein, Lieutenant, ça me va. En vérité, les gars de
Lieutenant Colonel.
Attention, et puis, moi, je suis un fan de John Matrix. Commando.
Yo, man,
anybody who knows Arnold Schwarzenegger, and anybody who knows Commando by Arnold Schwarzenegger,
oh my God.
This is my movie.
Ça, c'est les films qu'on regarde à la maison.
Allez, viens, Bennett, je peux me la mettre dans le beat, Bennett. Ou quand il prend le gars par la jambe, il dit, mais John, tu m'as promis que tu le tuerais en dernier. Je t'ai menti. Et puis il lâche. Oh là 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 là. No, man, these movies are memorable, man.
By the way, for most people, that's terrible acting, but I love it.
I know, it's fine. It's all good, bro. It's all good. We, as Africans, we love Chuck Norris, Sylvester Stallone, Schwarzenegger, Wesley Snipes. Forget about it, man. Those are our heroes.
Forget it.
Jackie Chan.
We used to borrow the tapes. Yo, il a la cassette. Pour aller prendre la cassette. Tu as déjà fini de regarder le film? Anyway, yo, listen, man. Much blessings. Enough respect. Enough respect. You know what I mean? And we'll connect soon. I appreciate it.
No doubts, man. No doubts. See.